maybe the most remarkable life trajectories of anyone I've ever met. And you wind up, close to Trump.
Well, when it comes to the Ukrainian issue, I think he is a real estate agent, a former real estate agent made a diplomat, which is a beautiful thing. We all know that real estate agents make beautiful international relations diplomats. And it shows. It shows because he has been very insightful, very clever. There's a term for that. He has been very witty and really went there and made a lot of breakthroughs. He has been, from the very beginning, he outsmarted everyone in the Kremlin. He has secured so many good things for Ukraine. He's the envoy that everybody hoped for. So, that's it. It's just our champion. And now we're gonna watch this interview. It's 8 months. It is actually 8 months old, but it doesn't matter. I really wanted to revisit it, especially now.
Trump, you campaigned with Trump. You're an intimate friend of the president's, and you could have had any job you didn't want any job.
Oh yeah, by the way, this is basically the only reason why he has the job that he has, because he's a close, intimate friend of Trump. That's basically the only reason why he's allowed to do anything close to Ukraine, why he's the special envoy now. The most worrying thing about the current developments is that Trump is sending Witkoff to Russia again to mess things up, as he has done countless of times. Not even misrepresented. He misunderstood what Russia was telling him, what the Russian diplomats were telling him. And he came back with false news, created hype around some deals that everybody thought that Russia would give concessions to, many things that Russia said they absolutely would not. He went to Russia without a translator of his own. He trusted the Russian translators. It's crazy. Insanity. But,
because you're doing your own thing. And then he tapped...
Extremely incompetent person, but again, close personal friend of Trump's.
You as a diplomat, as a negotiator on behalf of him, and you wind up becoming, probably the most effective negotiator in my lifetime.
The most effective negotiator in my lifetime. Went to Russia without a translator, just heard a bunch of things he misunderstood, came back. He gave the US side a complete falsehood, and he has been just making mistake after mistake after mistake during this whole process. He has been played completely. How can he be an effective negotiator?
And you have, you speak for the president. I think everyone acknowledges that.
Okay.
You're honest, and people...
Okay, okay. Being honest does not make you a great negotiator.
Like you personally. So those are obviously the foundations of effective diplomacy, but...
No, what? What the fuck?
What have you learned about...
No, they're not actually the foundations of proper diplomacy.
Negotiating.
If people like me and I'm honest, I guess that makes me a great negotiator. No, it does not.
On behalf of a country in the last couple months.
God damn. What a start. What a beginning to this whole mess. Why do you bait the title with gay marriages? Because that's the truth. Also, don't distract me while I'm doing this. It's not bait. It's true. You should keep up. Whether or not Poland opposes it, that's Poland's choice. But de facto, that is the reality of the situation. Unless you're not up to date with the whole thing that has exploded and is being discussed all over Twitter 24/7 now. It absolutely is. Maybe you're not in the loop. Maybe you're not in the know of the thing that has been discussed the most for the last at least one day.
Well, first of all, I think President Trump sets the table
Yes.
for all of us.
Oh, Brian, more up with it. Keep telling yourself that.
He really does. This whole peace through strength thing, it's not just a slogan.
Yeah.
It actually works. And so when he dispatches you,
And that was months. This interview is from 8 months ago. Peace through strength works. That's why we're 8 months later and nothing is resolved still. The peace through strength really works. He has not resolved any of the conflicts that he said he has resolved. Trump, I mean. Gaza is a mess. It's still being bombarded. I think 20-something people have died just a few days ago because Israel has been bombarding Gaza again. The peace through strength is a joke. There's no strength. How can you have peace through strength if there is no strength involved? It's just bad comedy.
to go to the Middle East, people are almost a little bit intimidated before you get there. And this
Yes.
goes for me and, other people who are doing a similar job. So he sets the table in a pretty powerful way. But negotiating is being outcome oriented. I talk about this.
That's a good point. Negotiating is outcome oriented. And so far, to this day, the Trump administration, Witkoff, has not managed to secure any results at all. We are just now receiving news that Zelensky has said that he is ready to accept the plan after it was revised. But there's still a very high risk that Russia will not accept the plan. So we're still stuck. We're still stuck with zero results. So we're a failure as a diplomat.
A lot. It's figuring out where you want to get to. That's Trump's game plan all the time.
I know Trump's game plan is just figuring everything out all the time without ever actually figuring it out. He always just asks, where are we going? Where are we even? What are we supposed to do?
I sit with the president and we talk often about what the end game is. Where does he want to get to? And once you decide where you want to get to, then it's all about tactically figuring out what that pathway is. With the Middle Eastern, Tucker, when I first got in and I was talking to Brett McGurk, who was the envoy on behalf of Biden, he was a smart guy.
Yes.
He just didn't have a great boss giving him direction. So he couldn't really speak on behalf of Biden.
They're going to accept the plan and try again in a few years. That depends. That very heavily depends on what Ukraine was able to how the Ukraine was able to change the plan. Even if it's something like Russia's not getting the entirety of the Donbass, but instead the territory they get is frozen on the contact line, Russia will not accept that, because that would mean that Ukraine will keep all of its fortified territories, that they will keep their most fortified positions, which is exactly what Russia was trying to dismantle. That was the main key for Russia to be able to try again. Conrad says Trump is like a student in college, figuring out everything with delay. He should have studied much earlier. True. He should not have put our real estate guy as his representative for Ukraine.
I was able to speak on behalf of Trump because we talked about it. We had a great conversation about it. He said to me, this is where I want to get to, Steve. And so when I went in there...
That is such a common theme with Trump. He has great conversations and nothing comes of them.
I went in with the imprimatur of the president, and it became that's the difference maker.
I went there as the representative of the president that is played by Putin, and I achieved nothing. Because he achieved nothing. He actually achieved negative results by coming back and misinforming everybody about what he achieved.
But I mean, clearly, and no one doubts that you speak for the president, that you know what the president wants because you know the president. You actually talk to him. You're not some guy he just hired, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, we can see by the results how much of a difference that makes.
also seems like you think through where whoever you're negotiating with is coming from. Like, what do they want?
Well, there's no doubt I'm always trying to put myself in the shoes of the other person, because a good deal has to work for everybody.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is not a business negotiation. This is the most fucked up thing I've just like, ending this war is not a business negotiation with two parties with equal rights and interests, and we just have to think of the business interest of the genocidal invader, because that's how you make a good deal. This is a negotiation to ending a war, not a business meeting. It's just, I hate the language around this. I just hate it. I hate it with a passion.
But I want to just say this. When I say I speak for the president, it's not because I presume what he's thinking.
Yes.
It's because I ask what he's thinking. He is the president. I'm in my job only because of him.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. It is very true. It's very true that you would not have gotten this job in a million years if you were not a close friend to Trump. Yeah, true.
And to me, I give him the respect of always asking the question, where do you want to get to, Mr. President? And so that's critical. So now I know where he stands, and now it's about tactics.
By the way, we're only gonna do Ukraine bits because tonight's stream is Ukraine oriented, so we're mainly gonna focus on the Ukraine bits.
As you talk about from the other side standpoint, it's important for me to know or to have a feeling of where the Israelis want to get to. What about the Qataris? They're the mediators at the table. What do they want to accomplish here? What about Hamas? Where are they? Will they really demilitarize? Is that something they'll do? Will they take the Golden Bridge out of Gaza? All of these are considerations. But first I have to find out where the boss wants to end up. And the boss is President Trump.
The boss.
It almost feels forbidden for you to say what you just said.
No, it doesn't. This is so stupid, as always, with Tucker Carlson.
We need to know.
Correct.
So is it hard for you to understand? Like, do you feel like you can effectively communicate with them even through proxy and understand what they want and what their red lines are or whatever? Can you negotiate with them?
Well, it's hard. I'll give you an example of what makes it hard. I went to Gaza.
Okay, this is
.com/Tucker.
Okay.
I'm just going to say this for a third time. I won't keep repeating myself, but that's just such a different way of looking at the conflict, not just in Gaza, but in all the places you just mentioned, acknowledging that, we're sympathetic to one side, but both sides have an interest, and reason can still play a role in this. Negotiation can play a role. Dialogue can play a role. I haven't heard anybody say that in so long. And you've taken an enormous amount
I've heard it too much.
abuse. I don't even know if you're aware of it because you're always on an airplane, but like in U.S. media and social media.
Well, you know what? He deserves the abuse for all the incompetence that he has showcased throughout this process with Ukraine.
Attacking you as like an agent of all kinds of different foreign powers. He's working for Hamas. He's working for the Qataris. Like, does that penetrate at all?
Okay, this is not interesting. Oh, there you go. Negotiation with Russia.
You'll see that in the reporting in the coming days.
Good. So if you don't mind, I'd love to. So here's the timeline as I understand it as an observer. So you go over.
Again, this is from 8 months ago. So as always, we have hindsight is 2020 for this.
Deliver the president's message. There is a ceasefire in Gaza, which, as you've said 5 times, is a prerequisite to a lot of other things. Like it's hard to do anything with this open wound. So you do that, and the president says, wow, Steve Witkoff, my friend from the real estate business, like you're...
Yeah, let that sink in. My friend from the real estate business that I've made diplomat for some of the biggest conflicts in recent years. What could go wrong with that?
Really good at this.
No, you're not. He is very bad at this. He is very, very, very bad at this.
Sends you to Russia. Is that fair?
It's not so
No, it's not. It's not fair, actually.
far from the truth.
Yeah, right. So it's like I'm watching this because I knew you before, and I was like, "This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen." I'm cheering you, by the way. Where are we
Regulating.
there with that conflict? Would you say?
I think
Oh, I want to hear this, especially as we are 8 months later. And again, Ukraine is being bombed every single day.
we've made more progress. Again, by the way, look, Tucker, I'm not just saying it. Every solution comes as a result of President Trump.
Let him cook.
And I don't get paid to say that. I say it
Yes, you do. You literally do get paid to say that. You're on his payroll.
because it is the absolute truth. Putin's got a huge respect for the president.
What a joke. No, he does not. He has zero respect for Trump. What a joke. He has no respect for Trump.
And, you know, you saw what happened in the Oval Office with Zelensky.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw how much he this is so stupid. Hi, dog. Trump has zero respect for the guy. Or rather, Putin has zero respect for the guy, I should say.
And the president, right?
Yes.
I mean, just like
Yeah, we all saw Trump belittle the president of a country that is fighting for survival. Yes, we all said it. It was very pathetic on both Trump's and JD Vance's part. What does that have to do with Putin respecting Trump? Nothing, of course.
disrespecting him is not a healthy way to have a good relationship.
The arrogance of small countries, it's like, get some perspective. I mean,
Holy shit, what the fuck was that? The arrogance of small countries. They're fighting for survival, and Zelensky was asking him legitimate questions. Lucy, have you said thank you once? No, I will never say thank you. Holy moly. I don't know what to do with such a statement. Yeah, he disrespected Trump by asking, hey, hi, dog. One moment. I'm ready to continue, Jesus Christ. But yeah, the reality of the situation is he belittled a country that is fighting for survival. The thing that is being described here as a lack of respect is Zelensky asking Trump, hey, Russia has violated treaties time and time and time again. So why would it not just break it again? Why wouldn't it not, why would Russia not do, what guarantees can Ukraine have that Russia will not just do what Russia does? And that was considered a total lack of respect. So there we are.
Come on, how can you imagine acting like that?
And they're dependent on us.
Oh, I know.
And we've been so good to them.
I know.
And I think that's, but look, that's
we've been so good to shut the fuck up. We've been so good to them. This is such shitty behavior towards a country that is fighting for survival, literally. What do you say to that? And once again, Trump has done his whole song and dance. Just a few days ago, Trump has done his song and dance about Ukraine being ungrateful again. So here we are, stuck in this limbo, ever repeating cycle of abuse, I would say.
And that's a really good thing. It got corrected, and
yes.
Hopefully we'll chalk it up to a misunderstanding, and we'll get to a peace.
He did not get corrected. What the hell did he get corrected on? Nothing. He just got belittled. There's nothing that he got corrected on. What the fuck? What the fuck was that? You're a shitty negotiator, and you're a shitty person. He did not get. Zelensky asked about security guarantees and he expressed concern about Russia always breaking arrangements that it agreed to. And he was told he has no cards, that he will cause nuclear war or something, World War III, and that he basically should just shut up. Yeah, that's not correction. That's not somebody being corrected.
Solution here. But I believe...
What's the misunderstanding? Daring to speak up? Daring to ask any questions?
That we have made more progress in Russia in this Russian-Ukraine conflict in the last 8 weeks than anyone thought we would ever make.
Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. The only thing that has been achieved this year is that Ukraine has been more bombed than ever before. More civilians have died than last year, I think. Well, I'm pretty confident in that. More children have died than last year. The isolation of Russia has been completely broken. Putin has received the red carpet treatment. Just so much progress is being done. Apparently there is huge progress being done now, but I'll believe it when I see it. I'll be heading out to Ukraine on Thursday. I already have a ticket bought, so I am locked in. I've already committed to going in 2 days, and I'm gonna gauge the atmosphere. I'm gonna gauge the temperature in Ukraine. Just how do people feel about this entire mess, this entire peace, this entire peace mess. We will see. It's just gonna be.
I hear people describe this last conversation that the president had with President Putin as, unsuccessful. It's preposterous, by the way. We talked throughout a 2-hour conversation about an ultimate ceasefire, and there are conditions.
Yeah, the ultimate ceasefire that 8 months later, and we don't have the ceasefire yet. As much as everybody talks about progress, how Ukraine is all but ready to agree to the deal, I'll just wait till it happens, because so far we still don't have the ceasefire, and Ukraine is still being bombed and people are dying.
conditions that the Russians will need for an ultimate ceasefire, because an ultimate ceasefire is complicated.
Yeah, as opposed to a regular ceasefire. The hell is an ultimate ceasefire?
There's Kursk, where Ukrainian
There you go. See, this is from 8 months ago. There's no Kursk anymore.
troops are surrounded. Fact. And
I'm pretty sure that was misinformation that Trump peddled, by the way, that Ukrainian forces were surrounded. So actually, that was not fact, Mr. Negotiator. That was actually pretty big misinformation. So right off the bat, we're being hit straight with this.
the Russians...
Kursk is within Russia.
Kursk is within Russia. The Russians have taken it back.
Yeah.
And they've got people trapped there, and the president doesn't want to see everybody getting killed. That's a significant battlefield condition.
What a joke. First of all, they were not surrounded. Second of all, there has not been ceasefire for 8 months since. Because I remind you, this happened 8 months ago. I wonder if there are any new comments here. What? Okay, whatever. What the fuck?
It has to be dealt with. But on top of that...
Is that acknowledged? Like, I don't know if the New York Times is writing that story right now.
I think it gets lost a little bit. First of all, I think a lot of these newspaper stories they're agenda driven.
Yeah. They're all like, the media just misreports on Ukraine. They're all just agenda driven. Fuck off. Fuck off, Witkoff.
Yes.
People start out saying, I support the Ukrainians, so I'm going to write the article in a certain way. Look, we want to... I want to see Ukraine come out of this okay. I want to see Russia come out of it okay. Again...
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's like saying, yeah, I want the Allies come out of this whole thing okay, and I also want the Nazi Germany come out of this whole thing okay. It's just what a fucked up way of seeing things. But again, to him, this is just a business negotiation between two equal partners that have just equally valid interests.
Yes. We're outcome oriented in this circumstance means that we need a deal that the Ukrainian people can live with. We have to sell it. There's going to be various Senate approvals that may.
We have to sell it, and by that I mean we have to blackmail Ukraine into accepting it, like Trump has done very recently, yesterday or the day before, when he said, "Oh, Zelensky has to sign our deal, or else we will just withdraw all aid, all information sharing, everything." Yeah, that's one way to sell a solution. That is one way to do it, Witkoff.
That we may need here. And I mean, that's the political system we're in, that we're going to want everybody to be, in some respect, satisfied. So we're going to want the Russians to be satisfied in some...
And by that, I mean, we're going to give Russia everything that it wants. We're actually going to let Russia write the initial peace proposal, and then we're going to give Russia everything it wants, in exchange for some vague, not really specified promises to Ukraine. But you know what? The promises to Russia will be extremely surgically detailed.
In some respect, we're going to want the Ukrainians to be satisfied in some respect. We're talking to the Europeans.
Yeah, we want Ukrainians to be satisfied. That's why we want Ukraine to give up the entirety of the Donbass. That's why we want Ukraine to reduce its military force during peace and wartime, which is very significant, because when you reduce Ukraine's forces to, let's say, 600,000 soldiers, and everybody says, oh, it doesn't matter, 600,000 troops is very big during peacetime. Okay. But this does not specify peacetime. This is a deal between Russia and Ukraine. So the next critique to this counter argument to me would be, well, does it matter if it specifies peace or wartime? If Russia attacks Ukraine, the deal will be broken. So it doesn't matter if then Ukraine will be able to just mobilize as many soldiers as it wants. It won't matter if it's 600,000 or anything. So the cap of 600,000 is perfectly fine even if you don't specify that it's just in peacetime. Well, my counter-argument to that counter-argument would be that Russia does not have to attack. What if Russia sets up Belarus to attack Ukraine? What if that happens? In that scenario, Ukraine, as per the peace plan that it would sign, only can have 600,000 troops in war and in peace. In that scenario, imagine that Belarus, that is somewhat bolstered by Russia, attacks Ukraine. And now Ukraine has two choices. Either fight Belarus only with 600,000 soldiers, and we don't know how that would go depending on what Russia would do to bolster Belarus for such a conflict and how much foreign legionnaires it would send to Belarus, which would be in reality Russian forces, in which case they would be fighting handicapped, or Ukraine could decide to mobilize, in which case Russia would say, oh, wait a minute, you've just broken the peace plan, you've just broken the peace agreement. We agreed that you would cap your units at 600,000. You just broke that, so we broke our peace plan, which means that we can comfortably and with a free conscience join in on this conflict on the side of Belarus. There we go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Which is why the devil lies in the details with these peace plans.
Europeans, when I say satisfied, feeling that we came out of this thing, okay, with a deal that everybody can live with. I think that we have moved Russia in ways that no one thought was possible.
But that's bullshit. Russia has not moved an inch. Russia demanded Russia has kept its demands identical from the beginning of the war to now. Russia has not moved a single inch on this entire conflict, on what it demands from Ukraine.
So in the last conversation, they agreed to an energy infrastructure ceasefire.
Yeah, which never actually worked. It was broken almost immediately. It never led to anything, and the fighting just continued. That partial energy ceasefire, it did not create any results. It was just, there were people that kept count how many times that ceasefire was violated.
Which means Russia is not going to target Ukraine's energy.
There are several blackouts as we speak every single day now in the entirety of Ukraine because Russia has targeted its energy
Infrastructure, and Ukraine will not target Russia's energy.
Yeah, that did not work out. That did not work out at all, did it?
Structure. They've never talked about that before. Here we are talking about that. They've never talked about reinstituting the Black Sea moratorium on maritime hits. Ukraine firing on Russian ships, Russia firing on Ukrainian ships. Now we're down to
what Ukrainian ships? It was the whole thing was that Ukraine defeated Russia's navy without having a navy of its own. What Ukrainian ships?
That's going to be
that's the master negotiator that does not even know.
Implemented over the next week or so. There's some details that need to be discussed, but that became a part of that conversation.
Unless we're talking transport ships for grain, then maybe. I'm gonna be very charitable here and assume that is what he means.
Big stuff, really big stuff. What's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is a 30-day ceasefire, during which time we
did not work. That did not happen. A 30-day ceasefire. You have failed in your goals.
Discuss a permanent ceasefire. We're not far away from that, but
8 months later, none of that happened. We're not far away. We're just doing great progress. The greatest negotiator that has ever graced this land. This is so pathetic, especially with hindsight 2020. Oof.
30-day ceasefire is something where we have to figure out what all the battlefield conditions are, which is why I began with Kursk. But Kursk is just the beginning of it, because there's this 2,000 kilometer, that's 1,200 miles, this 2,000 kilometer border between Ukraine and Russia, where the Russian and Ukrainian troops
Well done. You sure had your 30-day ceasefire. Absolutely happened.
are involved in, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, maybe 80 firefights throughout this border with all kinds of different conditions. Putin asked me in the meeting, what should I do in a particular area where we have people surrounded and they don't want to give up? Do I kill them? How do I get them to give up? I'm happy not to kill everybody. I'm happy
not to kill everybody. That's why Russia has been consistently murdering prisoners of war, executing them, and putting their heads on spikes, because Putin is just so happy not to kill everybody. And this is why the prisoners of war that have been not killed and imprisoned have been, when they were released, they looked like prisoners from a death camp.
to get people to wave the white flag if I can get them to wave the white flag. And that one situation, Steve, this is Putin talking to me, is just one example of...
Holy shit, he's such a shitty negotiator. I'm sorry to swear so much, but Witkoff is such a bad negotiator. You cannot just get a real estate guy to negotiate an important war with an ex-KGB guy. Why would you do that? Why would you ever think that that was a good idea?
70, 80, 90 different situations out there along this border, each one having different battlefield conditions.
Yeah, learning about the situation on the front line from Putin, that was the best negotiation move. That was the move, right? That was the play. The play. Just learn about what's happening on the ground from Putin. There's no bias there, absolutely, right?
Each one needing a separate conversation. That's what has to happen for a ceasefire. And yet we're talking about it.
Yeah, you talked about it, and the ceasefire never happened, because as much as Ukraine agreed to an unconditional ceasefire, Russia did not. Russia said that it has actually a ton of non-starter conditions to a ceasefire. So
that's a big deal. Our technical teams are going to be meeting in Jeddah beginning Monday. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's such a big deal that led to nothing. One of those huge, big, wonderful deals that led to absolutely nothing happening. Who would have thought? Who would have figured?
There's all kinds of good, positive talk coming out of Russia about their willingness to consider all of these different things.
Yeah, there's so much positive talks from Russia that lead to nothing, that just are empty talk. Just complete manipulation on Russia's side, because people like Witkoff, people that have zero experience in diplomacy, again, solving a major conflict, the biggest war in Europe since World War II, is being negotiated by a person with zero diplomacy experience, a real estate guy. Nothing. What could go wrong with this? What could? It's all just smooth sailing, as we have just witnessed through the 8 months.
And Zelensky had a wonderful conversation with the president after.
As always, it's all a bunch of wonderful conversations that lead to nothing.
After the President Putin's conversation the next day. And I think that indicates that they've got some degree of flexibility in the way that they've been thinking about finishing up this conflict. So I am, not to sound like a forever optimist, but I am very, very optimistic that we're going to be able to bring the two sides together. We have narrowed the issues so considerably.
No, you have not. It's been 8 months and you have not narrowed the issues considerably. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
So I'm optimistic.
Time for another true life Alp story. I got a call from a friend of mine yesterday, honestly, true story, who said his girlfriend had.
I don't care.
Can the U.S. deliver that? My under.
I don't care.
Russia, Putin, who's been in power 25 years, has been consistent for the whole duration of his presidency in one demand, which is that NATO stop encroaching on his borders. And
Yeah, and yet, even though NATO was not on the table for Ukraine, because there were members that have consistently said that you cannot join NATO, and in order to join NATO, all members of NATO have to agree to it. And very consistently, there were at least two members, Germany and the United States, ironically enough, that have said, no, you cannot join NATO. So in the light of that, why has Putin invaded Ukraine? To stop it from joining NATO.
specifically that Ukraine, which is the largest country that borders Russia, not be in NATO. And that is my understanding. My certainty is that still remains the central demand, period. No.
That's not true. That's bullshit. Several times Trump has indicated that no, actually, no NATO for Ukraine ever. No NATO, no NATO, no NATO. And that was the case in 2014 as well, where member states of NATO said no to Ukraine joining NATO.
Ukraine and NATO can't have peace without that. In the same way that Israel doesn't want Hamas in its border. They don't want that.
But I can understand why NATO refuses to just rewrite its rules for Russia, because that is actually one of the demands that actually NATO has to write in its statute that it will never agree Ukraine to join. And that is something that Russia cannot just tell an alliance what their documents specify they can and cannot do. It's ridiculous. It's very silly that Russia wants to dictate to third-party states what they can do and cannot do when negotiating peace with Ukraine. It's just negotiating policy of countries that actually are not involved in the conflict. Very, very silly.
What can the U.S. deliver that?
Well, first of all, I think the largest issue in that conflict are these so-called four regions: Donbass,
Yes.
Crimea, the names
Lugansk, yeah.
Lugansk, and there's
Holy shit. Oh my God. No way. He does not know the names of the guy that is supposed to be the negotiator for Ukraine does not know the names of the oblasts. Oh my fucking God. He is supposed to be the person to deliver us peace. He's gonna go to Russia now and he's going to talk about the peace plan with Putin, isn't he? Oh my God. Oh God.
Russia not be in NATO. And that
This is so embarrassing.
is my understanding. My certainty is that still remains the central demand, period. No, Ukraine and NATO can't have peace without that. In the same way that Israel doesn't want Hamas in its border. They don't want that. Can the U.S. deliver that?
well, first of all, I think
I think the largest issue in this war are those four regions that Russia wants. What were they again? Shit.
largest issue in that conflict are these so-called four regions.
So-called for region. Why do you say so-called for? They are literally regions, oblasts. They're literally administrative regions. What the fuck do you mean, so-called regions? Do you know anything about Ukraine, at all? At all? They're called regions because they're administrative regions within Ukraine. It's like saying, you have those so-called states in the United States of America.
Donbass,
Yes.
Crimea,
Crimea.
the names
Lugansk, yeah.
Lugansk, and there's two others.
Holy
They're
fuck.
Russian speaking.
Yep.
There have been referendums where the overwhelming majority of the people have indicated that they want to be under Russian rule.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
think
under a gun. The fact that Witkoff pushes this bullshit is staggering to me.
that's the key issue in the conflict. So that's the first thing. That when
And
that
also
gets-
the fact that he listed Crimea as one of the 4 regions. It's just staggering how little this guy knew during this interview. I don't know if he knows any more now, but
settled, and we're having very, very positive conversation.
And Russia
around that.
controls that. In fact, some of those territories are now
again, very positive conversations that have led to nothing. No solutions, no peace, no ceasefire, nothing.
from the Russian perspective, part of Russia.
Correct. That's correct. But this has always been the issue,
Right.
And it's sort of no one wants to talk about it. That's the elephant.
Everybody talks about it. There's no elephant in the room. Just because you didn't know about it, it does not mean that nobody talked about it. Everybody talked about it ad nauseum.
In the room. The elephant in the room is there are constitutional issues within Ukraine as to what they can concede to with regard to giving up territory. The Russians are
That's not an elephant in the room. That is very openly discussed.
de facto in control of these territories.
Yes.
The question is, will they be? Will the world acknowledge that those are Russian territories? Will
No, the world should absolutely not acknowledge that or recognize that, especially not based on bogus referendums that Russia has organized. No.
it end up? Can Zelensky survive politically if he acknowledges this? This is the central issue in the conflict. Absolutely that. On NATO, I think that Zelensky and he's got a right-hand guy, Yermak. I think that they've largely conceded.
Yermak is a whole, oh my God, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to get into Yermak because that's a whole other very messy topic. The guy that does not have any role that is specified in the constitution of Ukraine is this hand-picked guy that has a lot of power in Ukraine. Let's not talk about it now. Let's just not.
That they are not going to be a member of NATO. There's been all kinds of talk about whether they could still have, quote unquote, what is called Article 5 protection,
Right.
which gives every NATO country has this Article 5 protection.
Yes.
And whether Ukraine could have that in some respect from the United States or European nations without being a member of NATO. And I think that's open for discussion. But I think it's accepted that Ukraine, and Russia, if there's going to be a peace deal, Ukraine cannot be a member of NATO. I think that's largely accepted.
So you spent sort of an amazing story that got downplayed in the media, but you go to Moscow and then you wind up meeting directly with Putin.
Yeah, with his translators instead of bringing any of your own. Incredible. Also, it has absolutely not been downplayed by the media. What a stupid thing to say.
For a long time, which is kind of remarkable, I think, considering.
What is remarkable is that I think that not only did he not achieve anything, he came back with a very confused and false things that he misunderstood. He said that, oh, Russia's gonna withdraw from here, and it's gonna do this, that, and the other in exchange for that, this, and that, and other things. And then Russia came out and said, no, we didn't say any of that. That's actually not true. He just built excitement from all the Western allies by saying a bunch of things that Russia never agreed to. And it was just embarrassing.
You're the president's envoy, but you're not.
I'm not the president.
You're not the president. Exactly right. So the Russians are very formal, as you know, in every regard. They're very formal, and so you can imagine a scenario where it's like, well, it's not the president, so our president's not going to meet with him, but he did meet with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
For a long time.
Incredible.
What did you think of him?
I liked him.
Yep.
I thought he was straight up with me. Of course, by the way, I've said that. And
He was straight up with me, as in he told me all the bullshit that I wanted to hear, and I came home with nothing.
you can imagine, by the way, I say that, I get pilloried. Oh my gosh, you're actually saying that you like
Every
the guy.
American president until Biden has said that. Every single one.
Yeah,
Bill Clinton said that. George W. Bush said that. Barack Obama said that. Every president around the world I've ever spoken to is like, they may disagree with what Russia's doing or whatever, but they're like, yeah, Putin's a straightforward guy.
And this is why Russia is getting what it wants. This is exactly why Russia keeps getting what it wants. Because people genuinely believe that Putin is a straightforward, just I say what I think type of guy. That is so far from the truth that if this has not become clear to everybody that Putin just manipulates and lies all the time, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you if you meet with Putin and your takeaway is that he's just this straightforward guy.
First of all, I thought it was gracious of him to accept me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit, the cocksucking on the display.
To see me. Why would I interpret it any other way? But that was gracious. Now, I'm an emissary of the president.
Yes.
And
he even gave me translators because I couldn't be bothered to bring any to this important meeting.
the president had a great relationship with Vladimir Putin in his first term. So I think Vladimir Putin knew that it was going to be hard for the president at this time to come over to Russia. I think they're going to meet in the coming in the coming months.
In the coming few years.
But I think it was...
Yeah, they met, and once again, they met in Alaska, and you know why? You know what it led to? Nothing. It led to absolutely nothing. As per usual.
Enormously gracious for him to accept me, and I need to acknowledge that. That's
it takes balls to say that.
No, it doesn't. What the fuck? Why is Tucker Carlson just so impressed by every single thing? No, it does not take balls to say that. What the actual fuck? What am I listening to? This is so pathetic, even for Tucker Carlson. This weird ass glazing that I'm seeing here. You're so ballsy. Fine.
I know, but by the way, that's the same way that I said that Sheikh Mohammed is a good guy, and you know, because that's
well, he is a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, you know, in our country, if you don't act like a lemming and just walk off the cliff like everybody else, then you know you get attacked.
Let's move on.
It's, by the way, how would we settle a conflict with a guy with someone who is the head of a major nuclear power?
Yeah.
Unless we establish trust and good feelings with one another.
Holy fuck. Good feelings with one another. Oh my god. This is getting actually infuriating by the moment. Yeah, how could we settle a war with a major nuclear power if we just didn't give it everything that it wants? Just how could we even do it? How could we even start thinking about solving this conflict if we did not just give Russia all that it wants? It's a nuclear power, you guys.
I don't know how you would do such a thing. And President Putin said to me in the first meeting I had, he said, Steve, do you know that I didn't talk to Joe Biden for 3.5 years?
It's craziness.
How would you resolve that? Tucker, can you imagine me and you having a conflict? I don't know what it was. You live in this house, I live in that house. Okay, I think you've encroached on my land, and we never have a conversation about it? I mean, how do you resolve things?
That's why I went over there last year, because I thought we're moving toward a nuclear war. And I just feel
No, we're not. The nuclear saber rattling and nuclear fear mongering is getting really old real fast. It's getting real tired by the minute. Pathetic.
if no one's talking to Putin, like someone should at least broadcast his views to the world, because we could have a war otherwise. That was my thinking anyway.
Yeah, your thinking is stupid. That's why you lost your job at Fox.
I came back before the first meeting with President Putin, when President Trump said to me, go over and have that conversation. I think we're going to have a good, healthy conversation.
Yeah, that leads to nothing. I love those healthy conversations that lead to absolutely nothing, that gets nothing resolved, that leads to no progress, and it's just stalling for time that Russia really likes. I adore these kinds of situations. It's the best thing in the world. I like it.
Conversation. There was no talk about a Black Sea moratorium. There was no conversation about an energy infrastructure moratorium on hits, between the two countries.
Yeah, the one that led to nothing, and Russia and Ukraine just continued striking each other's energy infrastructure as if no ceasefire was even agreed upon. Yeah, though that ceasefire that just died before it could even take off the ground.
We were not talking about prisoner exchanges and all kinds of other stuff. After one meeting, and I am saying to you, not because of me, because this was President Trump sending a signal to President Putin that he wanted to resume his relationship together, and that they were going to be two great leaders figuring out this conflict. That was the message. That was me coming there. That was my message to President Putin.
Of a bootlicker, the most bootlickerish message that you could actually think of. You could not think of a worse message, but whatever. It's Witkoff. It's the brilliantest negotiator we have seen since Cheese.
Directed by President Trump to deliver that message, that we were here to begin a real discussion, a productive discussion about how to end this conflict. And President Putin, to his credit, sent all kinds of signals back to the president.
All sorts of signals that mean nothing in practice, because Westerners are so impressed with signals, with empty talk, with kind words, with a smile, with the graciousness of him allowing me to meet him, even though I'm just a nobody. I'm just a nobody envoy, a special nobody envoy. I'm not even the boss, and Putin has so graciously allowed to see me. He's such a great guy, so nice to me. And he smiled at me. He sent so many signals to Donald Trump, the boss. Things are so nice. Things are looking up. Surely we'll get a ceasefire and then a permanent ceasefire soon, right? No. It's been 8 months. It's been 8 months since this discussion, and no ceasefire has been reached. This is pathetic.
That this is the path that he wanted to be on, including statements that he made. In the second visit.
So many statements. Beautiful.
I had. It got personal. The President Putin had commissioned a beautiful.
It got personal. Fuck me.
Portrait of President Trump from.
Wow. That definitely means something, doesn't it?
Leading Russian artist. And actually gave it to me and asked me to take it home to President Trump, which I brought home and delivered to him. It's been reported in the paper, but it was such a gracious moment, and told me a story, Tucker, about how when the president was shot, he went to his local church and met with his priest and prayed for the president.
Is that really all that it takes? Is that really all that it takes to manipulate idiots from the United States? Oh, wow, he gave me a nice picture. Oh, wow. He went to the church and he prayed for Donald Trump's safety and well-being. What a beautiful, beautiful leader. Oh, and then it is at that moment when I thought to myself, well, maybe we should just give Russia everything that it wants. Maybe that is the play. Putin's such a nice guy. Maybe we should just give him whatever he wants. Vladimir says, very deep thoughts and bright insights. Yeah, upon the topics which have never been talked or brought up. He also a huge talking dude. Such a big news. True, never done, never reported. God, this is a special envoy. Holy crap! And he's going to Russia now to negotiate the peace deal. Do you feel good hearing this? Do you feel more secure that? Do you feel more assured that he will surely bring us just peace?
Not because he was the president of he could become the president of the United States, but because he had a friendship with him and he was praying for his.
Ah, yes, the friendship, the deep, deep friendship between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. Yeah, of course.
Friend. It was, I mean, can you imagine sitting there and listening to these kind of conversations? And I came home and delivered that message to our president and delivered the painting. And he was clearly touched by it. So
holy fuck! That it's so easy to manipulate those idiots. With a little gift here, with a little gift there, the dumbasses will just eat it all up. God damn! It's just is that all that it takes? Really? Very depressing. I feel very depressed hearing this. This is unironically all that it takes.
This is the
United States under Trump is not a serious country, is it?
Connection that we've been able to reestablish through, by the way, a simple word called communication, which many people would say, you know, I shouldn't have had because Putin is a bad guy. I don't regard Putin as a bad guy.
Yeah, I know. You like him very much because you're an idiot. You're either a naive buffoon or just a malicious actor. I'm actually willing to believe that you're a buffoon. You're just very, very incompetent. You're just very bad at your job. Then again, what should I expect? You have zero prior experience with diplomacy. Zero. You're a real estate guy. What do I even expect?
It is a complicated situation, that war, and all the ingredients that led up to it. And it's, you know, it's never just one person, right? So
you probably don't even know all the ingredients that led up to this conflict, so don't even try using that argument.
I think we're gonna figure it out.
It's like a marriage. I mean, you know, you can blame the other person all you want, but you're implicated in it too. So that's
holy fuck. The comparison to marriage is so disgusting, I don't even know where to begin. Yeah, I know that the conflict between Poland and Nazi Germany is like, and yeah, I'm gonna keep going to that example because I see Russia just as bad as Nazi Germany. I know that the conflict between Poland and Nazi Germany is basically like a marital spat, but you know, both sides are implicated. Really? Really? Back to real estate development after reaching the peace with Russia. True. That is this. Finally, he'll be able to rest.
It's just a fact. It's human nature. So It does raise the question.
What does that even mean? Again, no matter you've lost your job in the media, in the actual media, it's just human nature. What a stupid cop-out. What a stupid flattening of the whole situation. That is what happens when you don't know anything. You just resort to slogans.
Everything you've said, I don't...
Human nature.
I don't think any fair person... Everything you've just said about Russia, Ukraine, any fair person would acknowledge, yeah, that's true.
No, it's not. Maybe any fair person would acknowledge that it's true. But you know what? Any person that knows anything about this conflict, that follows this conflict, that talks to the people that participate in this conflict, to the victims of this conflict, would say no, that is actually a bunch of horse shit. So maybe don't talk to the fair people, okay? Or just talk to the people that are actually involved in the conflict, that report on the conflict, that follow the conflict actually, that know anything about the conflict, because this is just infuriating.
But why? There has to be some reason that none of this has been acknowledged for 3.5 years. Like, why the effort to prevent Americans from hearing the other side, from understanding the conflict in its totality, not just parts of it, but the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you that Americans, with all the information available, should have the full picture by now. No information is being withheld from the American public. There are many American-based journalists, some of them even from the streaming space, that do a lot of excellent job in providing information to the American audience on what has been going on in this war. And the American public cannot claim that it does not know what is happening, that it does not have the full picture, that it does not understand both sides of the conflict. That is just not true. That is not true at all. The American public has a lot of good sources of information when it comes to this war.
Like, why the censorship designed to keep us from knowing what's actually happening?
Okay, what is being censored? I want a specific answer. What exactly is being censored? Because I call bullshit. Nothing's being censored.
Because that's what we've been enduring.
Oh, I know.
Censorship.
Yes.
We've been enduring.
Censorship of what? Of what exactly? Name it. Name the censorship or shut up.
A media that, they all march together. I mean, I told you the story. I give interviews about President Trump, and guess what? All the nice things I have to say about him, because I believe in that sort of gets excised out of the, out of my interviews.
Yeah, all the dicks, like people don't care about your dick sucking, okay? Maybe that's why.
Not with you, I know, but because you're a fan too. I'm a great fan of his, so you hear
Yes.
it. But guess what? Trump derangement syndrome still exists out there today. I don't.
Yeah, another buzzword that means nothing. When you criticize your president, that's just a derangement syndrome. How dare you? Isn't it supposed to be the super American thing to distrust authority, to not trust your government, to not trust your president, and to just criticize them at every step, to hold them accountable? I guess being American is a form of a derangement syndrome now. Because I was under the impression, I've been told by well-informed individuals, that being American means a constant distrust towards authority, especially authorities such as Donald Trump. But I guess that's not the case. I guess that's just not the
He
case.
said it at the State of the Union. If I came here, and he was looking at the Democrats, if I came here, I had the cure for cancer, and I had a magic pill that would cure all conflicts all over the world, nobody would cheer for me on your side.
That's
and
true.
it really is true, by the way. Look at how all the different things he's involved in now. I mean, we are out there curing and solving conflicts all over the world.
What a sad joke. Oh my God, what a sad joke. That's just... I've solved 8 conflicts, except he has not solved any of them. What the fuck? I keep saying that, but I'm just I don't know. This is just... I'm at a loss for words.
It's unbelievable. No one's ever seen this.
I know. That's what I want to say. It is unbelievable. It is actually unbelievable. I cannot believe what I'm hearing. Well said. This is the first true thing that you've said during this interview. It's just unbelievable.
Before, and The Russians want to engage with us once again because we have a real decision maker. Iran is now responding to the letter. Hopefully we can solve that.
Oh my God, Iran that he later bombed. They were so responsive. They were so eager to negotiate with Trump. They were so eager to talk to Trump. Iran, they were so positive. They respected Trump so much that it led to a whole conflict. Brilliant. That's, oh God, hindsight is truly 2020. Oh my God.
That Gaza, Turkey, we've got real leadership, and the world needed leadership, and we were bereft of that leadership. We didn't have it, and the Trump administration is moving forward with strong leadership. It's a big deal.
Yeah, that's why Israel bombs Gaza every day, because so much respect and so much leadership in the world from Donald J. Trump. Oh yeah, best leader in the world.
Do you think Zelensky, the question of Zelensky, I think there are good things to say about Zelensky. I think he's got a kind of bravery, which I admire. I think the Ukrainian military is legit brave.
No, you don't.
Doomed, because they're just fighting a much bigger country. It's
Right.
not going to win. But I think that
Ukraine is doomed to having shitty allies. It is called the shitty ally syndrome that, unfortunately, I have to talk about a lot in my frustration. But, it is what it is. It is what it is.
they've behaved with valiance. But the Russian
But did he say thank you? What did he think to say thank you?
position is he's not elected, and so we can't sign.
He is elected. What the hell is this nonsensical point? Yeah, he has been elected. What do you mean he's not elected?
Any kind of treaty with him. Do you think there will be elections in Ukraine?
Yes,
You do.
there will be.
This interview is from 8 months ago.
Yeah, they've agreed to it. There will be elections in Ukraine. And I agree with you. I think
This is why I say that Witkoff is just an incompetent idiot. Oh my God.
Zelensky is trying his best. I think he's in a very, very difficult position, but he's up against a nuclear nation.
Yes.
And he's also up against a nation that has 4 times the population.
You know, Ukraine used to be a nuclear nation as well. What happened? Mr. Witkoff, can we talk about that? Can we talk about nuclear nations? Can we talk about what led Ukraine not to be a nuclear nation anymore, even though it allegedly has been in the past? What historical things have transpired that have led to such a bold conclusion?
That he has. And so he's got to know that that he's going to get ground down. Now is the best time for him to get a deal done. President
Oh, now 8 months ago. Now 8 months ago was the best time to get a deal done. Spoiler alert. No deal was done. And we're 8 months later into the conflict.
Trump can deliver him the best possible deal he's ever going to
Who's
get.
giving him I blame Zelensky, the man,
Hello, Glitchmaster.
for his behavior in Washington a few weeks ago. But I also blame whoever briefed him before he went into the Oval with the president and vice president. Whoever told
Yeah. Whoever told him that he should advocate for Ukraine's interest was a real loser. We all know that when you talk with Trump, you should not advocate for your country that is fighting for survival. You should be too busy sucking on Trump's cock. That is the thing that you should be focusing on first and foremost. How dare you? Have you said thank you? After that fiasco, you should be also saying sorry. You should be saying thank you and I'm sorry. That's what you should be doing.
told him to act that way, and it's clear people did, whether it was Samantha Power or whoever it was. Those people, that was
Should be shot. He should be shot, dragged out to the street and shot.
Criminally bad advice. Do you think he's speaking to realistic, clear-eyed people who can, who have the welfare of Ukraine in mind?
So without getting into names,
Yeah.
Welfare of Ukraine?
I've talked to multiple European leaders, and I've said to them, the more you encourage him not to be proactive at the peace table, the more you suggest that aid will continue without any conditions attached to it. No one says that we shouldn't aid Ukraine today.
Yeah, just, we will aid this country that is being invaded and a victim of genocide under certain conditions.
Or in the and in the reconstruction later on. But it's got to come with certain conditions. If we're going to give a lot of money to Ukraine, we want to hear the business plan of how this is going to get resolved.
Business plan? This is not serious. This is not fucking serious. Again, he's the real estate guy. He's treating the biggest war since World War II, war of aggression, war of genocide, as some kind of business venture. And it's disgusting. Hey, if we're going to aid you, I want you to show us a business plan. I want it on my table by Monday. I will review it and I will see if our benefit ratio will be enough for us to consider your proposals. It's going to be great.
Because it's an unsustainable business plan if they don't have a plan for how it gets resolved. We just can't forever...
Business plan.
Or give money because they'll get grounded.
This is a war of survival, not a startup. This is not that show when entrepreneurs go to a jury of three people and propose their business ideas and ask for funding. What the fuck? The Dragon's Den. This is not the Dragon's Den.
And ultimately, and this is, we've discussed this in the administration. Ultimately, what you can't have here is risk of any kind of nuclear action, even the tactical nuclear action. I mean, even if it...
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you that the risk always exists. You have to deal with it. You have to deal with the escalation ladder, the nuclear one. That's the nature of the game. That is the nature of dealing with nuclear states. But it doesn't mean that you just capitulate to their demands. The United States and Europe also have nuclear weapons. Russia is not the only possessor of nuclear weapons in the world. It's just... we cannot pretend that Russia should be able to escalate whatever it wants forever and nobody can say anything, do anything, respond in any way because, Russia might just be unhinged enough to randomly throw nukes at everybody. This is not a proper way to conduct international relations, any sort of diplomacy or support your allies. That is not the way you fulfill your promises to your allies. There was this little memorandum, the Budapest one, you remember? If that was gonna be the thing down the road, then Ukraine should have just kept its nukes, even though the United States, interestingly enough, did everything that it could to pressure and blackmail basically Ukraine into getting rid of its nukes. Because they said that if they don't, that all humanitarian aid would be withheld from Ukraine. And Ukraine was in a very, very bad state when the negotiation for it getting rid of its nuclear arsenal was happening, unfolding.
Even if it's not a big bomb explosion.
Doesn't matter.
Just a tactical nuke would take stock markets down all over the world.
Well, they haven't been used in 80 years.
Okay. It's all about those stock markets, isn't it? It's not about people dying. It's not about people's homes being razed to the ground. It's not about the misery, the nuclear fallout that will contaminate the soil. People suffering from long-term repercussions of radiation. Their children possibly having radiation poisoning. No, it's nothing. None of that matters. It's about the stock market's going down. Yeah. What an interesting way to talk about nuclear conflicts. Oh, we can have nuclear weapons being used. It'll cause the stock market to go down. What? Again, this guy is completely out of his depth. He should go back to real estate. What the hell are you talking about? That's your big worry about nuclear weapons being used? The stock market? We live in a separate reality, I swear. Mr. Witkoff and I, we live in a completely different worlds.
They've been used exactly twice in human history.
You can't allow it to happen.
It's not a precedent you want at all.
And while I think we have to get a fair deal for Ukraine, we cannot allow that country to drag us into World War III. And that's not what...
There you go. The special envoy that is supposed to be ending this war. We cannot allow Ukraine to drag us into World War III. Yeah, Putin is just this nice guy, this gracious guy that gave me a nice painting, that prayed for Trump in a church. Such a nice, gracious guy. Very cool. But that evil Ukraine, that bastard Zelensky, they just want to drag us into World War III. Those ungrateful cunts. Like, what is this framing throughout this interview? And this is the guy that is supposed to get it done. As we speak, he is going to Russia to discuss the peace plan with Putin. This guy, who is just, we're listening to his, I'm hearing his beliefs on all this, and I'm just smacked with disbelief. I'm just flabbergasted.
But that's not my policy. That's President Trump's policy.
Then what is, if I can just say, like, what the hell
I'm just a mouthpiece. I'm just a brainless mouthpiece to Trump.
is going on with European? Like, Keir Starmer saying we're going to send British troops. Their entire military is smaller than the U.S. Marine Corps. The country is dying economically. All those countries are dying economically.
Yeah, European countries are not dying economically. I have no clue where Tucker Carlson took that for information from. I would like to see some data to that effect. Actually, Poland's doing, I can speak for Poland. Poland's actually doing pretty well economically, believe it or not. Poland's actually having a pretty good time economically right now. So I have no clue what this whole rhetoric about economies dying it comes from.
Like, what are they thinking? What is that? Is that a posture? Is it a pose?
Well, they're thinking that Russia is a legitimate danger to Europe. That is what they're thinking. And it is completely correct to think that. Because, yeah, Russia is a danger to Europe.
I think it's a combination of a posture and a pose, and a combination of also being simplistic. I think there's this,
okay. Europe is just a bunch of posturing simpletons. Oh, got it. Thank you, Witkoff.
Sort of notion of we've all got to be like Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
The Russians are going to march across Europe. I think that's preposterous, by the way. We have something called NATO that we did not have in World War II.
Do you think the Russians...
Yeah, because... I'm sorry, but I will say it. I will say it right now. NATO would sell us out if it meant peace for the rest of the alliance. The alliance has become very, very unreliable under Trump. I've already been worried about that in 2022. And now I honestly don't know if Article 5 would be invoked if Poland was attacked. I don't know if Western countries would not conclude that it is actually not worth dragging the world into World War III and nuclear Armageddon for Poland if it ever got invaded. We technically speaking have this Article 5 thing, but do we really want to use it for Poland? Do we really want to risk Russia using nuclear weapons. That's the end of the world. Poland has been in Russia's sphere before. Why not just let things as they should be? And we leave Russia's sphere of influence to its devices, and we do our thing in return. Why not? We avoid horrible disaster that way. We avoid World War III. Just the logic behind this is so baffling that it is beyond description.
Want to march across Europe?
100% not. I think
Right. I mean,
think-
like, why would they want that? I wouldn't want those countries. Like, why would they?
first of all, why
Solid logic, Tucker Carlson. I don't want those countries. Why should they? Why would they? Solid logic. Really, you're such a nice, brilliant politician. Oh my God.
would they want to absorb Ukraine? For what purpose?
Exactly.
They don't need to absorb Ukraine. That would be like occupying Gaza. Why do the Israelis really want to occupy Gaza for the rest of their lives? They don't.
Why? Because Russia considers Ukraine, that Ukraine can only exist as an extension of Russia or not at all. That's why. That is exactly why.
They want stability there. They don't want to deal with that. But
Yeah, that's why they invaded Ukraine, because they want stability. Makes perfect sense. Envoy Witkoff.
the Russians also have what they want. They've reclaimed these 5 regions. They have Crimea, and they've gotten what they want. So why do they need more? He said,
Name the regions. Name the regions. You illiterate.
Putin's a very smart guy. You know, someone said to me that I was talking to
Vladimir says all of his interviews are pretentious, just like his friendship with Nick. I'll check it later. We still have a lot to talk about when it comes to this peace deal.
someone in the administration. They said, well, you got to watch it because he's an ex-KGB guy. So I said, okay, what's the inference? Well, he's an
Hold on.
ex-KGB
I have to
guy.
listen to.
So I said, okay, someone in the administration. They said, well,
Also, he realizes he actually knows that about Putin's background and still shows us this naive front.
watch it because he's an ex-KGB guy. So I said, okay, what's the inference? Well, he's an ex-KGB guy. He could be looking to manipulate you.
Says the ex-CIA guy to you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
This was not an ex-CIA guy.
Well, they all are.
but effectively. And I said, look, here's how I see it. In the old days, the only people who went into the KGB were the smartest people in the nation. That's who went into the KGB. He's a
Yeah. You know what? I'll agree. The smartest people that can manipulate others, that eat them for breakfast. Yeah, I agree. Putin is much smarter than you. Putin knows how to manipulate people. You're easy to manipulate for him. Yeah. You're just basically admitting that now on Tucker Carlson.
super smart guy, okay?
Yeah, and
You know
you're not. And we're basically experiencing the results of that very painfully.
want to give him the credit for it? That's okay. I give him the credit
They
for
must
it.
hate you for saying stuff like that.
But he is.
I know.
I mean,
I'm very
that's-
aware.
So should we ignore it? I mean, and this is what
Nobody's trying to ignore it. The opposite is true. Everybody's saying, yeah, he is very smart. He is, in fact, much smarter than you. That is the problem. The problem is not saying that Putin's smart. The problem is that you have to take into consideration that he has great experience with manipulation and other KGB-related tactics. And you have zero experience with diplomacy. You're a real estate agent.
what I talk about with level setting the facts. Like
This is so depressing. And this guy is being so glazed throughout this interview. Is this guy that is the best negotiator ever since the discovery of the wheel. Or rather, the invention of the wheel.
are we now like Trump was elected, we're now allowed to speak freely. We were not, we were muzzled, Tucker. No one was allowed to say what they really wanted to say.
Oh, I'm very aware.
I mean, we just came out of a world where a judge who was not even an elected judge could tell a man that he was going to spend 10 years in prison, and he had 80 million votes in this country.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's gone. Okay.
Yes.
So, listen, we can breathe again.
Yes.
Yes!
That's amazing. So there's the negotiation that's going on between, in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine, which you're obviously at the center of. But there's also an informal negotiation going on back in Washington where you have a lot of people with, economic interests in this war. I mean, let's just be honest. Certainly ideological interests, and all of Washington has been mobilized to fight Russia. We are at war with Russia through our proxy Ukraine.
Right.
And the President Trump shows up and is like, applies the brakes, like it stands on the brakes. But is that going to get resolved?
I think so.
You do?
I think so.
No, I don't think so.
Like it's one thing to deal with the Russians, but to deal with the permanent bureaucracy, that's really tough.
But who does...
Dodge has been dismantled. Enough said. Dodge has been dismantled completely. It's dead in the water. It accomplished nothing. It actually did a lot of harm while it functioned, and now it's gone. Failed experiment, I guess. So that was the interview. An 8-month-old interview between Tucker Carlson and Steve Witkoff. How did you like? Have you enjoyed this beautiful spectacle? Have you enjoyed this beautiful interview? Have I delivered top-tier content to you? I sure hope so. Okay, let us get into the news. And by the news, I mean we're going to be talking about the peace negotiation because it's happening. There's been a lot of steps. First, it started with the horrible peace plan penned by Russia, apparently, and then pushed by the United States. Ukraine, as always, has not been involved in any of it, any of the talking, any of the negotiation, any of the formulation of this so-called peace plan. I went through the 28 points. They were all horrible. It was a very bad deal. Europe has actually put forward 2 counter proposals, one consisting of 24 points and one consisting of 27.5 points, interestingly enough. And while those kind of improved on the initial plan, it still left a lot to be desired when it came to a real solution, a real ceasefire, and then a real peace. And the problem, of course, with this whole negotiation is that the initial plan was completely unacceptable to Ukraine. And I also heard that it was actually partially unacceptable to Russia, which is very interesting. And then we have the modified plan, the counter plan, to which Zelensky is saying that he is basically willing to accept. But in that case, the question suddenly arises, okay, is Russia willing to accept it? Because it seems to be that anything that Ukraine is willing to accept because it becomes an almost automatic thing that Russia will never agree to accept. Does that make sense? Because there's a lot of, let's just say that there is a pretty big rift between what Ukraine would want for the end of this conflict and what Russia would want for the end of this conflict. And, maybe we will revisit this interview in a few years when Russia will be not just invading Ukraine, but Poland or something.